Welcome to Game Woven, a collaborative world building actual play podcast building a world one game at a time. Today, we'll be continuing our world building series as part of Cosmic Century Nights, written by James D'Amato and Andrew Mergiewski. The coming episodes focus on building out the antagonists for our system. Okay, so to wrap up the Fell Knights, we've got aesthetics, we've got our aspects figured out, we've got some filler questions, we've got abilities and weaknesses. So the last thing, just like with the Undying Empire, we have some details. More tools for me to work with when we get started. The first one is the plot. This is like an immediate short-term goal for the Fell Knights that should be specific. What we're going to do is we're going to choose 2 targets and 1 method. The targets, 2 of them, are a leader, a population, an artifact, a resource, a location, or an institution, and the method is destruction, control, death, theft, or construction. What are we feeling right out the gate here?
I had a thought, what if it's leader? What if they're trying to find the man who sacrificed himself to, access the blade? Like, he gave up what mattered to him most, which was his home. What if he didn't die? And what if that's why no one can claim the blade? Because he didn't die and no one knows where he is, so they're trying to find who would be a leader.
Sorry, who is that? Is that for the Dawnblade? Because there's a...
Let's catch you up, Faye. During the Wandering Bridge arc, the day the Wandering Bridge disappeared, a man from Overton sacrificed himself to the Dawnbreaker in order to claim it on behalf of the city. And as he fell from the bridge down towards the cathedral, he watched the bridge disappear.
Yes. Okay, I knew that part. I knew the disappearing bridge part.
Yeah. We never knew what happened with him.
We never revisited him. I think that's pretty cool.
That was the former wielder of the blade. That was
He was just someone who figured out how to get it, so he was willing to sacrifice himself and give up the thing he cared about most, which was his home, so they would be able to claim the blade. But the bridge disappeared before any of that could happen, so the blade is awakened, all the weird magic stuff is happening. No one knows if he's alive or not, no, his body hasn't been found, so they could very well believe that that's why no one else can touch the blade. No one else can claim the blade, because he's still around somewhere, whether he is or not. Trying to find who it belongs to.
I mean, that also opens up a really interesting idea of, if not the person who was sacrificed, then who? And, there being a potential point of contention within, the Fell Knights in and of themselves about being well, maybe one of us will prove that we're, the one that's worthy of doing this, that we're the prophesied person.
Oh, they have different belief systems. They're already splitting into a sectarian system, right? There's already been a schism.
Yeah, I think that is really neat because there's a lot of unknowns with it.
We've got the claimists, and then oddly enough, we've got Protestants. Still Protestants.
Shouts out.
Out to my Fellblade Baptists.
That does leave the question is, what
Shouts out to the Catholics out there.
Are they looking to kill? Are they looking to steal? Or are they looking to control?
I mean, I feel like the short answer is one of them wants to find the guy and be like, hey, you're our boss. Other half wants to find the guy and kill the guy?
I think ultimately it all comes down to control, whether it's controlling the person who controls the Dawnblade or controlling the Dawnblade directly.
Then you've got the Methodists who believe that all methods are valid and are pursuing all of them at once.
Yeah,
yes.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, probably.
Well, and there's also that little thread that can be in any or all of them, regardless of their beliefs, except for maybe a handful of very devout people who truly are like, underneath it all, yearning for the ultimate of Daddy Violence's approval, which is for them to be the person who can wield the sword. Because, like, obviously,
yeah.
like, that's the sword picking you. That's what the swords do, kind of.
I do want to speak into existence. I feel like, I mean, Fellblades are pretty powerful. I feel like 80% of their fatalities are to them trying to wield the blade. Like they don't lose to like other Century Blade wielders or big monsters or something. They die because they think they figured out how to wield the perfect violence blade.
Not their hubris growing too great.
There is so much blood in that temple right now, y'all. Or is it perfectly clean? Is there like not a speck of blood or anything anywhere? I feel like that's scarier.
Oh, it's nasty.
No, there's a wet floor sign. It's bad.
Yeah, it's real bad.
I feel like the blade never has the blood on it. The area around it.
Because it's perfect violence.
Gotcha.
It would not get a drop of blood on it, obviously. I like how a simple question about what evil scheme are the Fell Knights trying to do has turned into a schism in their belief system that leads them in many directions, which is fantastic. So we have at least one group that thinks the chief priority needs to be finding this guy. And then there is another group that maybe thinks that the priority should be gathering all of the Century Blades. But all of them
Gotcha.
agree the goal is approval from Magic Violence Daddy.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's a concise way to put that.
We can't keep calling it that.
Can't we?
You know what we need to do is, hey Lex,
Who's
what is
gonna
this
stop
Latin?
us?
Lex, can you give us a Latin translation?
Nope.
Magic.
Mm-mm.
Violence Daddy, but in Latin.
Google Translate. Google.
Nope.
It's gonna be like Paternus Mortalis or something.
That sounds very cool. Unironically, that does sound very sick. Like,
The Order of Paternus Fatalis.
It'd be Paternus Fatalum, but okay.
either way, that sounds fucking sick as hell. You hate to have a bad guy who has a cooler name than you.
We have leader, but then if the other side might be resource or artifact vaguely, which is basically attaining the blades and gathering them.
Yeah, I could also see calling it population because it's like it's more they want to convince the general population that only they should have it instead of having to go out and like fight for them.
Get the other Century Knights to follow.
Yeah.
And join them.
yeah.
And
Definitely. Well, and I think also, like,
join the dark side.
in looking for this leader, there's also definitely the possibility that some of them think that whoever they're looking for is maybe out there wielding a different blade. And so it's like, okay, well, if we collect all of the people that have these blades, or rather, like, if we can't get the people themselves, then the blades themselves, it's like, we'll either find the guy that we're looking for, have the things that we need to entirely control this, and maybe be able to, like, do this thing ourselves. Like, all of that sort of is, like, interweaves with one another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in like a cooperative way. In a like, there's a ton of friction about this.
Theoretically, they are all united in a goal, but I think that they are all also, because they're so individually powerful, there's inherently that, like, power struggle between all of them of, like, okay, but who's the most, though? Like, who's the most fallen? Who's the fellest
Daddy's
of them all?
favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, which of us is going to be worthy to wield the blade once we have figured out how to wield the blade?
Yeah, and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's cool that you think that about yourself, but I mean, like, I've done this, I've collected like 12 blades, and I've had 3 other knights fall, so, you know. It's...
Oh, but but all of this is in vain. It has gotten you no closer to discovering the origins of the true leader of the Dawnbreaker, which is the actual way that you gain the Dawnbreaker's approval.
well, no
idiot.
one knows, and then they start fighting.
Yeah. And
Hey,
then
you know what this sounds like? This sounds like talking about the organization of the Fell Knights, which is actually the next detail.
I was waiting for someone to take a breath long enough to point that out. Thank
Really?
you,
I
Rob.
would
Rob's
never
good at
do
that.
that. I would never
Really?
breathe.
Rob's good at getting us back on track. It's funny every time.
Bree and I we're doing our damage.
I do want to do organization. I want to ask a very important question. a critical question, one whose final answer will enter into the chat so that it is preserved for the eras. What are we going to name the mysterious leader whom is allegedly the claimant of the Dawnbreaker? What is this dude's name? If we don't know, someone's got. He was literally an Overtonian. Like, people knew him. He had like friends.
Right. We have to name the guy.
Like a title. It's like a thing that he was like known by. That was like.
There weren't any living people left behind in Dalatheria. I mean, well, there were some people, but they wouldn't have known.
Legends and lore and stuff like that gets
We're
passed
not
down.
talking about like the legend. We're asking about like what his literal name was. If he was Jimmy
Mhm.
Jiminson,
No, I actually am asking, like, what was this? Was it Hal Blade Man?
Yeah, that's
like,
what I'm saying. Like, yeah,
that's,
we're
that's
asking
what I'm
what is-
saying. Like, what?
yeah.
Mr. Bladeson.
Yeah, what is this dude? His name is John Dawnbreaker.
Part of me wonders if we've already named this character back in Wandering Bridge arc.
We did not name him.
The games we were playing were not that zoned in.
We did name some characters.
Yeah.
Are we gonna go with the old Zalo naming convention of profession family name?
Yeah, that's what I think.
I want to say this is mid hexology being a thing, so that probably wasn't what he did. What do you think?
He may
this
have
guy
been a
did?
hexologist.
Because it was after Tarsic.
Gotcha, and that's where our hexology started. Yeah, that sounds
Mhm.
Yeah.
makes sense. So he's got some sort of magical-ish name. I don't think hexologist is a good first name.
first thing comes to mind is Arcanist, but that's
Or like
nothing.
is like Magus anything?
I thought Cursebreaker, because that just sounds cool.
I was also thinking, because to me, this is a person who, like, obviously very deeply cares about his city enough that he would be willing to do this. So, in my head, we can go like hexologist or Cursebreaker or like key magic. In my head, this is really like a worker. Like, this is like a person who doesn't have a lot of personal power, who can see the city. So I'm almost thinking like plumber. Like he's like a plumber or a like roof repairer.
I mean, unironically, I do think that that's actually very cool. Like, I think the idea of it being like all of these people who are like politicking or soldiering around trying to do what they can to save the city, and someone being like, I love this town and I'm going to do what I can. And if that is to, sacrifice all I have for it, then I will.
And then our boy Mason.
So I was gonna be like, let's do something slightly more protagonist coded than plumber. Let's do Mason.
Incredible.
I had that one in the chamber. Okay, Mason. Let's give.
And then a family name.
Yeah, who's got a cool family name?
I also kind of had the thought of, what if he figured it out because he ate a fish about it a long time ago? Or maybe it's like something with the fish baptism.
What's the fish baptism, guys? What's that? Do we think?
Going back, we went to a place with magic fish in a pond,
Mhm.
and when you eat the
Mhm.
magic fish,
I think I've heard about that. I think I remember you guys mentioning that before.
You gain special knowledge, and then you die when you use that knowledge. But if you don't use it,
because it's like one of your cultures, right? That's like
yeah.
The
based around
Veracruz.
that
Yeah.
also.
yeah. So if
Yeah.
it's someone who ate a fish and just didn't have a chance to use it, possibly.
but we did establish, thanks to Ben, I believe, that if you eat a fish and don't do the thing, you just live until you can avoid dying until you do the thing. You're effectively immortal until you do the thing.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
the fish that this guy ate, this would have to be an executor that at this point is like 400 or 500 years old from before the sanctuary fell apart in the first place. The thing that was inside the fish was how you unlock the Dawnbreaker, and he just went around for 500 years with that in his head.
I'm going to say this one. This might be one that is useful for me to keep in my pocket as we discover more details about this individual
I will
in the
also
search for
say,
him. Because
if
this
we-
is already like this is a carrot. Oh, I want to dangle this so bad
Yeah.
already. Oh, big time.
For me, just a question is he just normal guy number 12 who chose to step up, or is he some destined guy? I kind of like normal guy number 12 personally.
As
Yeah.
someone who's out here trying to play normal guy number 13, I am very pro normal guy number 12.
Yeah. Also,
Um,
if he was an executor, he'd have died. So that's, I feel like, less interesting than him
Right.
still being alive.
I do like both of those ideas. Like, I think they're both fine. It's just, I'm leaning very slightly towards normal guy number 12. But,
Another
yeah.
thought that I had that leans into the normal guy, what if it was just someone who's like a lore keeper?
Oh, he just wrote, he just did historian or something.
He keeps lore, he keeps records, he makes sure things are organized correctly, and that could also just be his hobby, but that would be like how this person figured it out.
Is there in like this city at the time any specifically around like reading and writing and like something like lore keeping, is there any like class divide there? Or is that just like a thing anyone can do? Like everyone just like is able to read and is able to write and like whatever.
I would say on Overton, definitely everyone would be educated. Other places, probably not.
Okay, because I will say that like a lore keeper, if that's true there, then that totally makes sense. I think that if that wasn't true there, then being someone who is a lore keeper is not just someone who is just a guy. That's someone who has like means and opportunity and resources and like whatever. And I think if we're doing normal guy number 12, I think that like this should be very the most like blue collar boy you ever did see.
Maybe he's a Mason, but he also sometimes helps out in the lore because he's just a history nerd or something.
He's a Mason with history autism. That's fine.
There you go.
He's a free Mason.
Specifically, I was thinking an interest in architecture.
Mm.
As a stoneworker, like that would be something that a Mason, not just a builder, but like a Mason, would have very much reason to pursue that info.
Yeah, and if you were like looking at like ancient architecture and stuff like that, like you could easily stumble across something that nobody else really thought to look at, because especially if it's something that is related to like masonry, when you think about the idea that removing, like in archaeology in general, removing something from its time period, people use their own modern biases to be like, well, what would this have been for? Like blah, 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 blah. Like when, I can't remember what culture this was now, but there was basically a dig site where they found like a knife that had been stored on like a beam above things. And people were like, oh, like maybe this was like a religious thing. Like they were worshiping this. This is in a place of prominence, whatever. And then a mom basically came in and was like, that's just out of reach of the kids. That's not anything.
Yeah. I also like this Mason idea more because he literally lives on a giant magic bridge. He works with like old mysterious architecture and stonework. That's his whole life.
Part of the story of Overton being in Dowletharia was they sent out a lot of search parties, and like a lot of, there was essentially like a king of Overton for a few months. So there was somebody who had taken autocratic control of the bridge that ended up being killed by people beating him to death with bricks and buried underneath them. So having this guy be like a Mason, but also like was conscripted more or less to go out onto those search parties to dig through the town, to try and find building materials to repair the bridge, would make sense.
Yeah, the people who were sent out were specifically focused on bringing back materials. People had to sneak out to go find the missing thing, to find the weird thing that they were trying to find, which ended up being my fourth mysterious woman, and this one's just underground.
I think that's a lot of really good conceptual information about Mason.
Mhm.
We have a big blank mark where
What's
his
his
last
family
name
name?
should be. What's his family name?
My pitch is going to be Mason Green with an extra E at the end of Green.
Perfect.
Mason Green. That is pretty boring. Love that. Very average. Joe blue collar, green last name.
I also like that it kind of establishes that colors may be a bit of a pattern in
hmm
the area for last names.
Yeah,
Family
I
names.
was just like,
Yeah.
I see what you're doing there, Hunter Gray.
Oh, Hunter Gray.
Hunter
Mason
Gray.
Green. Yeah.
Colonel Mustard, Professor Plum.
Hey.
Boo.
Okay, I love that. Thank you so much for that little tangent so that we have a name and a person to work with. I already had an idea that I was going to have a figure like this. And so Bree I promise we did not prep that ahead of time. We are not in cahoots. That came from you, and it just gave me the exact thing that I needed. So thank you so much. Now, let us go on to organization. Part of the strength of the Fell Knights is their association and cooperation. This defines how that works and benefits it gives them. Structure, choose one. Monarch, hierarchical, anarchic, strength, oracular. And then assets, they have 2 assets that we get to choose from. A battle fortress, wealth, devotion, knowledge, and blaze.
Is it
So to
strength?
me, in my head, it's anarchic or oracular.
I was
It's-
thinking strength or oracular, personally.
Because to me, it's like oracular, but they aren't actually getting supernatural insights. They're just gleaning whatever they can.
Just because it's not real or legitimate doesn't mean that they're not interpreting it that way. They could
Yeah.
have like a whole entire system for how they interpret signs of the Dawnbreak that are not actually anything. That's nothing.
And we've kind of established that they are getting information from each other, which might not always be the clearest kind of information. So I'll bet there's a lot of interpretation going on, which is obviously contributing to their ridiculous amounts of the schismatic level of organization that's come into this group.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, and also it ties back to their weakness of archaic beliefs.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sad.
To layer on another thing here, we've talked about them being particularly charismatic in this very chaotic way. The ability to see the future in their minds comes from clout. So the way that they, like, if you can amass a following, if you can be physically impressive, if you can gain clout within the community, people will assume that you are gaining the favor of the Dawnbreaker, and therefore what you have to say is meaningful until you run up against something where it's like it doesn't pan out the way it is. You know, you can tell them anything.
The more clout you have, the easier it is to make your prophecies come true.
Exactly.
I'd love for the Fell Knights to be on that Sigma grind set.
This has been the bit the entire time.
This reminds me of like those really problematic Christian beliefs where it's like, well, if you are rich and have money, that means God loves you more.
Yeah.
Like God has determined how much
He said
money
that in the
everyone's gonna
Bible. I'm
make.
pretty sure that's true. So
Like,
It's very prosperity gospel. It's very
That's
manosphere.
the term I was looking for.
There's a lot of like, oh, you know, if you're on your grind set and you're hitting the gym and you're making money, then like obviously you're successful and smart and everyone should listen to you for everything, including the most ridiculous things that come out of your mouth on your Fell Knight podcast.
are we gonna do a spin-off Fell Knight podcast?
Zad, let's
No.
do it. Let's do a toxic Fell Knights podcast.
We do not condone toxic masculinity or toxic femininity. We do not condone toxicity on this podcast.
Unless you're a Fell Knight, then you can go with God.
Okay, but hear me out though. We've talked about oracular organization. What if there straight up is a mystical version of a podcast?
Oh, I thought you were going to reference Tristan.
It's happening. It's happening for real now.
When they're in their downtime, it's like they tune in to like a psychic boardroom where they all argue with each other.
No,
about shit.
wait. I
Oh,
know what
they're-
this is. Okay. Dad, do you want to?
Not the fucking Reddit forum. Help.
To throw my potential one in, if you get a brick from Daltheria, from the cathedral in particular, they know how to essentially bring that brick online, and you can bring it up to your ear and hear other people talking into their bricks, and so they can just brick to brick communication. And occasionally you see
You
these
need to
very
be all
beefy
bricked up.
people.
So it's the
They get
90s.
Zed, I need you to know I appreciate so much how much of a straight face you were trying to have during that. You're like, no, this is serious, this is important. And this like little bit of like a shitty grin just sort of trying to find its way onto your face. It's very special.
So we have communication through magic bricks. Is this connected in
Yeah.
any way at all to those weird, formerly bone-covered spikes in the
The
twin
bone-covered
crystals?
spikes are Undying Empire artifacts.
Yeah.
No,
that's-
they were from before.
Not to know about the Nokia brick. My thought is, because we've established that there is like a instinctual connection that all Sentry Blade wielders have of like showing how to be a Sentry Knight that the Fellblades are like actively going against. So what if they have like a corruption of that? Like they figured out how to like take that mind link and like corrupt it into a way to communicate or consolidate information. Like they have found this inbuilt way to build community, and they've twisted it into their own purpose.
I think almost certainly if there is a form of, because we have established that there is forms of communication between wielders, I think that if they are sending information back and forth, it should be abstracted some way, dreamlike, visionary. It shouldn't be clear and it shouldn't be obvious, because if it's too literal, then it's actually accurate. So I think like taking advantage of the cloudiness of that form of communication, the inexactness of it would be very effective. Sending people visions of like getting what you deserve and like that kind of stuff. I think that's, you know, the sensation of indulging in your wants and the wants of your blade and finding like that's how you turn people, right? But not just telling people like, hey kid, you should use that sword to get what you want. Tune into my podcast. I think it's a little weirder than that.
There's a group of like 4 Fell Knights in particular where their whole thing is they sit and they push those thoughts and those feelings out, because like they figured out how to basically manipulate and kind of like push newer people into falling. So that's their whole thing. That's the version of the Manosphere podcast, is they're just like pushing the subliminal images into people whenever they feel a new person like come online. They figured out how to like target in their direction, like have those thoughts that are pushing, which also means there's probably a couple Cosmic Century Knights who are doing the exact opposite and be like, no.
I think that that could be it. I think that there's not very many Century Knights, and so there might not even be enough for them to recognize what's going on, see it as lies. Like, well, like, I'm kind of thinking this whole deal is very much getting started on the back foot. What I'm doing right now is I'm going up to the wants of the blades, and I'm looking to see if there are some blade wants.
My blade yearns for violence. So
some of them that work are like one of the like suffering a loathsome urge to antagonize and make miserable almost anyone they encounter, even as they collaborate. Like that one kind of tracks. Command empires, like there's a prophecy. I think that there are some blade wants that would lead to like a small group of them just hanging out and being like, oh, wait a second, we can take advantage of this aspect of the blades.
I think something that's also kind of neat in that same vein of the unclear messaging is the idea of feelings in like a physical way, like how anger can feel a certain way in your body, but that feeling in and of itself is up to the interpretation of whoever's feeling it. Because some people might, like feel a tingle in the back of their neck and be like, oh, this means that I am anxious. This means that I am upset. This means that I'm like pissed. Those feelings are maybe getting sent out, but there's no like how it gets interpreted by the person there. It completely like fluctuates.
I'm going to submit a pitch here. Under assets, choose 2. One of my pitches will be knowledge. The Fell Knights hold secret information that other world powers are searching for. The knowledge they have is they understand pretty thoroughly this nature of the blades and can exploit it. They are able to communicate. They are able to emotionally manipulate people remotely if they are blade wielders using this, and they do so, some more than others, to attempt to turn blade wielders to their side.
It works on normies too. Like it works on the average citizenry. Just it's not as potent. There's not as much of a direct line, but it's like an extension of their black pill charisma.
I think that ties back into the frightening presence, because they exude an aura of dread or malice. No one would be willing to face a Fell Knight without a Sentry Blade or a vampire. That idea of like there is just like some kind of power they have. My pitch for the second asset was going to be devotion.
There are pockets of deeply held support for the Fell Knights all over. That really fits with this kind of pseudo-remote cult vibe we're going for. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was gonna pitch both, kind of playing off of the televangelist idea, but devotion also works, because
I like devotion.
It's also the fact that we know that the view of anybody who is a wielder of one of these blades is not super great. And so I think it is very, very easy for people to be like, oh, well, maybe actually these people are like, they seem to know what they're doing and they seem to have like noble purposes. And obviously they're also charismatic. So like they probably are actually the good guys. I think that works with that perfectly.
I have a very sad thought, which is if they were to meet a Century Knight and be, say, inspired by the deeds of a Century Knight, your average person would also think that that is an emotional manipulation and that they are up to something nefarious, that they are lying.
Y'all, I just have this one sweet little character who just wants to have connection and friendship with people, and her blade yearns for destruction, and no one wants to be her friend.
Correct.
Hell.
I'll be your friend, probably.
I love it. Okay, so let's do a not philosophical one. Let's do a cool one. In addition to holding Century Blade, which actually this ties back to the aesthetic conversation we had about them all kind of sort of having the aesthetics of Warframes. In addition to holding Century Blades, Fell Knights have access to armor that makes them especially formidable. Abilities, choose two. Summoned, Retributive, Fusing, Fortifying, Cloistering, and Piloting. These actually have real mechanical effects.
I
I
like
feel like retributive makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I want them to have a mech. I want them to have a mech.
Okay, is that piloting? Fell armor is the key to allowing a Fell Knight to operate a battle armor that turns any true Fell Knight into a terror. The Knight must sacrifice 10 effort and 10 HP to summon this armor. If they do not meet the requirements, they can still summon their armor but perish after the scene where they use it. Select an extra vulnerability. That's fucking crazy.
To layer on another thing. So we already know drawing on the blade makes the blade a part of you in a way that is kind of body horror-ish. Instead of them summoning an external set of armor, what you do is functionally absorb the blade, and you go from like what would like an evolution of a Warframe be. And we can make this as gross as we want. We can have it be like you have to turn the blade on yourself and like, jam it into you, and then it suffuses through your entire body. Whatever the aesthetics of your blade are become like a dominant characteristic, like a mech, and you basically turn into your Megazord form.
I will say the evolution of a Warframe is a prime Warframe, which I'm not gonna-
Nerd.
Okay. Are those,
Which you
are
have to
those
spend
big and cool?
thousands of plat for on the marketplace.
Are those bigging?
If we can have them just absorb their blades to turn into these terrors, these fully just the entire body as a weapon, that makes piloting really cool.
I think that
Yeah.
sounds really neat. And as someone who's not really a big mech guy, I can explain that in my head in a fantasy way, and that's fine.
No, I was just doing a bit. I don't actually want a giant mech. I was doing a bit.
I do kind of like the idea of them being able to become individual city level threats instead of like just an evil guy.
Mhm.
But they have to be willing to die to do that.
I mean, only potentially die. I don't have any frame of reference for what effort and that amount of HP means, but it does specifically say if they don't meet the requirements, they can do it but die. So it would imply to me that they don't always die.
Yeah.
True.
They only die if they're bitch ass, bitch made.
Ain't shit.
Pitch would be if we want to kind of take this to a less extreme. Fusing Fell armor gives the knights the ability to form gestalt entities that combine and escalate the power of their component parts. This enables them a special variant to their forces, select an extra vulnerability, like the idea of being able to like externalize the blade's power, which is something that Century Knights can't do. Could be interesting.
Are they Voltroning here?
I think they need to like do the fusion dance.
Fusion dance?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That does seem like a little bit too teamworky to me for the Fell
Yeah.
Knights.
That is true. Honestly,
I think that every single one of them wants to be like top dog. Like it's like, yeah, those are like my boys and we're kind of doing stuff, but like me though.
So it could work the way it does sometimes. No one on here is going to be, I don't think anyone here is listening to be a bigger Transformers nerd than I am, so I don't know why I'm correcting myself like a nerd's going to correct me. Sometimes the Transformers, when they do a combo, when they're a combiner, there's one guy in charge and everyone just kind of like submit to the one guy.
Maybe it's a Highlander situation.
I'm thinking about it more in the sense of like, how often do you think you're going to come across multiple Fell Knights together?
Here's my thought: if you come across multiple together, they've already fused at that point. Like,
Right.
Well, sure,
what if
but
you
like,
come-
is that a thing that is like, this is the thing that they do? This is their special guy extra thing that is like this very like interconnected system that they have with each other? Maybe, because maybe that's a thing that they figured out. Like, I think that there's the argument to be made for it. I just think that it's important to think about what it implies, because this goes from this sort of like lone wanderer, maybe you have a couple of Sentry Knights who have to face off against one Fell Knight to like handle that, to being like, cool, if there are multiple Fell Knights here, you have to have the whole gang and maybe also a city behind you.
what I'm imagining isn't like two bumping into each other go, oh, hey, buddy, let's work together. It's two bumping into each other and one goes, submit to me, and eats him.
Yeah, it's like a Highlander thing. Like the ultimate expression of defeat for the Fell Knights is when the other Fell Knight literally absorbs you.
Is that permanent?
Yes.
Okay.
That's where I was going with it. I don't think we have to do that, but if we do that, that's what I was thinking. It's not them working together at all. It is at least one of them is not happy.
Yeah, this is not a coworker situation. This is power.
Mm-hmm.
So, fusing, I like that thematically. Piloting looks cooler in my head. I'm happy with
That's so real. That's so
Happy with
real.
Zadkiel, my dear friend and colleague for many years, I have terrific news for you. We can do both because it says choose to.
Do we want to do both? Are we going to do both? We should do both.
That does get rid of retributive.
Yeah.
I will say a chorus of responses from basically everyone here being like, obviously that one.
Yeah,
Oh,
retributive does feel kind of perfect. Like when they are in the midst of a tough battle, like they are so like their emotions are weaponized. Feels like
Yeah,
I
but
think
and
that they do.
that could potentially add into what they're able to do with the piloting, where you're willing to take the hit to become unstoppable. Like, I don't care what I have to sacrifice. I will even sacrifice part of myself to destroy you. I will not lose to you.
And I mean, like, the visual of that also goes Insanio style, because if you think that they use this, like, when they hit half HP, they go, great, I'm going to use, they're going to explode and do something cringe. And then they're like, awesome, I'm going to sacrifice, the remaining 80, 85%, 90% of my health to now go into this armor to be like, cool, now I'm so much your problem. It's very second stage boss fight.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm leaning piloting personally, I think.
I like piloting. It turns every encounter into a Fell Knight, into a very tense conversation and potentially fist fight with a nuclear warhead. At any moment, you could be dealing with a fucking Metal Gear.
I feel like Fell Knights give the vibe of, if you have gotten to the point where you're fighting, this is like the whole thing, and wow, is that not good?
Yeah. Remember how I said that wasn't going to be philosophical? Oops.
We need two vulnerabilities because piloting, we select an extra because they have
Are we taking piloting and retributive, or are we taking piloting
I
and
think so.
fusing and giving them three
Piloting and
vulnerabilities?
retributive.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, piloting and retributive is, I'm pretty sure, what we landed on.
They do not have self-preservation in mind.
No.
Think
Vulnerabilities.
so.
Choose two. Elemental. Ideological. Judging. Draining. Dominating.
Draining could fit.
I mean, draining works what we're doing so far.
Mm-hmm.
Although mechanically, I don't feel like it really works.
I do think that might end up being a little bit too much, like, from a technical standpoint. Like, it's like, actually, this isn't a threat at all because they just die.
No, you're right, but it'd be funny.
It would be fun. I don't have any frame of reference for how much HP a thing does or does not have. So, like, that maybe is a lot, that maybe is insignificant. Like, I don't actually know.
I think 40 to 50 is like boss that requires multiple people to take down amount. Like terrors Terrors are like 30, 40, 50, 60 hit points. And that's the equivalent of like Sephiroth or like one of the weapons.
And also, my thought is, how would we adjudicate that with retributive? Like, would they only lose the HP once they hit the half hit point mark? Do they have to always pay if they want the ability to have that happen? So I think draining mechanically feels just a little.
That's
To me,
fair.
retributive feels like something that just happens.
Yeah.
Like it's not a choice,
Same.
it just happens, versus piloting, which is where they choose to do the thing and then it would have the vulnerability just for piloting, is my thought. If we decide
Yeah.
to go with draining.
I like judging.
Hmm.
This armor needs
Yeah.
a knight to fulfill a certain feat before they are deemed worthy of its true power. I think that,
You need a Call of Duty kill streak before you can activate it.
and it could be that like the retributive is always going to kick in by default if you're if you've fallen, but like to be able to access the ultimate Mechazord armor, you need to have done something. Like you need to have really, really sated the blade at one point.
That does also, if we want to lean into that idea, dominating the armor has the desire separate from the Fell Knight and Blade. It takes control when all the powers are activated. So if they do the big special move, there is now like a brand new entity that comes out.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, here we go.
Because think about it. What if they believe that is like the spirit of the Dawnbreaker, like taking over them?
Yeah, there it is.
Yo.
And they're like,
Lock
all
it
right,
in.
cool. Like, I'm going to give myself over to my Lord and Savior and Daddy Violence. And let whatever their will be done. That goes crazy.
So I've
Incredible.
never seen Evangelion, but I'm just imagining the robots from Evangelion really mad.
Yeah, I love that. So dominating and judging. It's giving daddy issues. It's giving father figure problems.
It is giving daddy issues. That's definitely true.
We have a sense for how Fell Knight armor is personalized between various knights. I don't think we need to answer that one. It is based on the desires of the blades. They kind of look Warframe-esque. This code section, oh boy, I hope we don't get stuck here.
We could just do a lightning round about it. Everyone's only allowed to say 4 sentences.
The Fell Knights have a code that dictates the general behavior and philosophy of their members. This is enforced socially and supernaturally within the order. So there's the 3 pillars that the Fell Knights consider sacred, and then 2 things that Fell Knights consider profane.
Profane, rejecting your blade.
Rejecting the blade is profane. Good. Yes.
I feel like something with like strength or power or like dominance, it's something in that vein for one of their pillars, I think makes sense. Like strength will reforge the world, or dominance will reforge the world. Like that goes very hard.
I think strength reforges the world. Will reforge the world.
Let no one doubt your strength.
I like strength for Forge the World because it's very
Ooh, yeah.
gross, and I hate it. It is very of times.
Do we want mercy to be profane?
I was just thinking mercy is profane.
Woof.
Violence is beauty.
Oh, pillar, violence is beauty.
Yeah.
These are the edgiest bitches I've ever heard in my life.
And
Help.
we love it.
I
feel like having something about the Dawnbreaker.
I do think something to do with the Dawnbreaker is probably pretty
Yeah.
important.
And maybe transcendent.
Dawnbreaker is daddy.
Is father, is vater.
Father.
We could even just say divine, or
Follow the Dawnbreaker.
there. I like that because that also plays into their whole, like, they don't know what they're following.
True. And like Dawnbreaker, I mean, it is the sword, but it could also be like maybe how they refer to whoever their leader will be, because it's like, well, yeah, you and your sword are one, so you will be the Dawnbreaker.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yes,
sense.
Faye. Incredible.
Yeah. Also, not gonna lie, all of these would make good book titles. Moving on.
Okay, mantra. Oh god. Match each of your sacred pillars to one of the following statements. Oh, we already have is beauty, is strength. Okay, I think
Yeah.
we have that. Okay, good.
Oh, okay.
Penalties. What happens to a Fell Knight who breaks these? Demotion, mark, pain, censure, trial.
Mark and Pain are the first thoughts.
Definitely,
Yeah.
that's the first 2 that I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
especially since they're so about like their charisma and their presence having something that taints that, even if that to the layman maybe is actually still terrifying or more terrifying even within the circle, that is something that's like how embarrassing for you.
I remembered the really bad Joker outfit from the Suicide Squad movie where he just had like tattooed broken on his forehead or whatever.
Damn
But I was
it.
imagining that, but like merciful, and that's the worst thing.
Oh,
That sucks. But
yeah. And then you
that
get an
sucks.
embarrassing title.
Censure could also be interesting. So it's the knight loses access to some of their blessings depending on the severity of their infraction. What if that is enacted by the blade?
Yeah, that one works.
Make a point because they don't meet up that often. Any penalties they have to come from their own blade, right?
Correct, yeah.
So the blade gets
my-
mad at them.
Sword
thought-
Daddy angry.
Is maybe by like tapping into their like fear network, the mark then allows the pain to flow from the other Fell Knights. Like it's the idea, like I almost think of it as like you're all like chaining yourselves together. So if one person falls, the rest of everyone else knows and will like punish them.
Mm.
In my mind, because in my head, the blades are being misinterpreted by them, flat out, like in the full narrative.
I mean, or there's the other side of it where the blade has fully taken control over them and it is
Mhm.
entirely
True.
the blade, right? So I mean, like I think in the vein of what we were talking about, how they have mastered this ability to sort of weirdly communicate with each other via the power of the swords, I think it definitely stands to reason that they could mark each other and or cause each other pain through that.
That's fair.
To throw a little bit of support for censure, this only kicks into effect once you become a Fell Knight. So it's not any blade wielder. It is specifically
Mhm.
someone who has given themselves over to the blade. And so a rejection of the blade is also a rejection of the powers of the Fell Knight. And so to recover from being a Fell Knight, the first step, and one of the hardest, is literally losing access to this font of power you have access to. And so showing
Yeah.
mercy, like you lose access to blade blessings, you lose access to this thing that you are wholly dependent on. Therefore, like you become less powerful.
Put such insanely high stakes, like personal stakes on like literally anything that would push them away from their like beliefs and like that. That's
And that's-
already a thing that people don't like to
Yeah.
challenge.
Yes, being a Fell Knight gives you this high degree of control, but this like psychic vibes network that they've constructed for themselves creates that sort of panopticon where you don't necessarily know that you're being observed all the time, but there's always that possibility that somebody's going to catch you thinking the wrong thing or feeling the wrong thing or something. You're going to say something or feel something that's going to slip out. And because there's only so many of them, they will tell you that they keep each other in line through violence. I think there's a question up here that we jumped over that's like, how are disagreements between members resolved? And the obvious answer is they just fucking kill each other. Or they posture as whoever is the most powerful, and that's the person who settles or who wins the disagreement. But I think ultimately what it comes down to is so much of what keeps you inside of being a Fell Knight once you're in there is shame. They have created their code, and censure is like that physically giving up the power, or the system, the internal system, rendering you impotent by their standards because you fail to live up to something, is really fun.
We're going marked in censure. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, shame on.
So.
Yeah.
All the Fell
and-
Knights have daddy issues and humiliation kinks.
Zad and I were talking about, like, this is definitely sort of a metaphor for like the alt-right pipeline. Like once you tumble too far deep into it, like that's how like crushing it is and how hard it is to get out.
Well, and also like the one thing that people just in general never want to admit is the fact that they were wrong and that
Yeah.
like they fucked up. And so it's like
Mhm.
even if you do feel that way, which maybe like again like in this is like maybe if you do want to be merciful, or you're like, I don't think that this is right or whatever, that would be admitting that all of the things that you've done up until that point were wrong. And that's really hard to have to confront.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which, if we're trying to tell stories about de-radicalization and de-imperialization, like you got to confront that too, because there's always the
Yeah.
redemption arc, but it's never an arc. It's just one good deed, and now we're good, boy.
Yeah, and like that shit's hard.
Yeah.
Becoming a good person's hard. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
I've never claimed to be a good person.
Okay, that is the Fell Knights. We will get to like Lords, Gestalt Knights, Terrors, like that kind of stuff. Well, actually, we will have to do Fell Fortress Terrors because that's their cool mech suits. That we will do quietly in the background because I want to get to a real juicy one. Thank you for listening to the Game Woven podcast. Today's episode featured the entire cast, including me, P.P. Benjamin, Lex Olden as Paul Day, Emily, Faye, Rob, Zad, and Bree. For more of Game Woven, you can find us on Blue Sky at Game Woven. And if you would like to support us on Patreon, you can find us at patreon.com/GameWoven. Thank you.